Detroit is directed by Kathryn Bigelow and stars John Boyega, Will Poulter, Algie Smith, Jack Rayner, and Anthony Mackie. The movie tells the story before, during, and after the titular riots in 1967 and largely focuses on a police standoff between white cops and their black victims at the Algiers motel. It's quite astonishing to know that these riots and this story, based on completely real events, happened some years after the passing of the Civil Rights Act and the major marches done by Martin Luther King Jr. and his followers. It's an incredibly thought-provoking story, and that's pretty much what it has attracted Kathryn Bigelow, a director known recently for telling these really harrowing kinds of stories that some people will go away from, might not tackle, might not go deep enough into to really give it the justice. Kathryn Bigelow once again tries that with this film, and for the most part it works. The way that she constructs this horrible realism in pretty much every single scene is quite harrowing, particularly the second act. The actual standoff at the motel is like this long 1 hour just climax. In fact, I would have wanted to just have that part of the movie just be the entire movie. Sure, we need that setup beforehand to understand where the riots have come from, and the aftermath is a necessary part as well, but that standoff was electric but also incredibly horrible to watch. You're watching these characters being brutalized by the police officers, and the police officers themselves feel like these terrible forces of nature that have just come out of like hell itself, particularly Will Poulter. Wow, this kid has gone from something like Chronicles of Narnia 3 and The Maze Runner to just be this really deep and absolutely just kind of horrifyingly intense actor. His performance in this film was fantastic. Algie Smith, who's an actor I had never seen before, his character and the way that he plays that character was incredible as well. There's so many really strong performances, and that may come down to the talented actors, may come down to Bigelow's direction, may even come down to Mark Boal's screenplay. Maybe all three of those come together to make some truly incredible performances and some absolutely terrifying tension. Detroit also suffers because it is a 2 hour and 23-minute long movie. This feels really long. In fact, there are multiple times in this movie towards the end where I kept thinking, end it here, end it here, why aren't you ending it? It just kept going, and I understand the aftermath of the situation is an incredibly important part of the story, but not in the extent that they went into it. You kept feeling like, why are we having like 3 different court scenes? Why couldn't we just have one? Maybe that was more the conventional way to go. Maybe Bigelow wanted to go a little bit more in depth with how the court would perceive an event like this, how it would take evidence and testimonies from people who were there. Okay, I get that, but I just don't really think it entirely worked. That was the major flaw for me. Also, I feel like some of the supporting characters, particularly the ones played by Jason Mitchell and John Krasinski, who are very talented actors, their characters have literally nothing to do. I'd have to say that Detroit, out of the last few Kathryn Bigelow films, The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 included, it's probably my least favorite out of all of those. It is flawed in that way that it goes so far with this story. This film is still filled with fantastic performances. It has some really strong storytelling in the right kind of moments. It's incredibly intense. And even though Detroit is an incredibly harrowing and frighteningly incisive movie, particularly for the times of today, I'd have to say that Detroit is worth the ticket and the Blu-ray. So Detroit, have you seen it? Please tell me what you think about it in the comments below. There are going to be videos linked down here and one over there. For more Mr. Movies, please press my little face right there. Thanks for watching.